Okay, guys, today we will be talking about the two methods we use to study physiological psychology. The two methods we use to study physiological psychology, as we have already stated initially, we're interested in searching the brain, the endocrine system, investigating and trying to know how they translate to behavior or result to behavior, or how our behavior also result to several changes in this nervous system and the endocrine system, right? So there are two methods. We call them the invasive and non-invasive method, right? We understand that in first year we talked about the ethical principles guiding the purview, the course or the profession of psychology. So it's not that we get human beings and open their brain and start doing anything we want at ease, or get an animal, open the brain and throw away and everything. There are ethical principles guiding these processes, right? Now, we go straight to what we came for, right? Invasive method. We'll start with the invasive method. So the invasive method is there is a need to invade or come in contact with that part of the brain. There's a need that the brain matter is open and we see it and we touch it and we remove it and we cut it and we damage it, all of those things. Okay, I'm using that word, right? So I'm only trying to paint the picture of what invasive method is all about, right? So an example is a research that showed a man that was having seizure. Yes, the seizure was so terrible that the surgeons advised and have to cut the corpus callosum. The corpus callosum is a bundle of axon in the brain that joins the two hemispheres of the brain. Yeah, that's the corpus callosum. So at that point, we understand that corpus callosum is not only joining the two hemispheres, but is the reason why what you perceived from the left part of the brain, the right part could get it. We also know that the left part of the brain controls the right part of the body, including the right eyes, the right hand, leg, everything, while the left part of the brain controls the right, yes, the left brain control the right part, while the right part of the brain control the left side, right? So again, the right part of that brain is responsible for aggressive behavior, while the left part is for like normal, right? So in that situation, research showed that that man was, once he could see you with his left eyes as a friend, but his right eyes will see you. Okay, his right eye will see you as a friend, because that is the left part of the brain that will interpret that, while the left eyes will see you as an enemy, and there is no reconciliation because the corpus callosum is not there. So this is one of the examples of invasive method we're going to be talking about, that is transaction, a cutting off. We have three types of invasive method: transaction, ablation, and lesion. So this transaction is what I just explained. There is a cutting. There's a need to cut, to disconnect this and see the changes that will happen. And in this situation, that was what happened. So research has shown that that corpus callosum is the reason why your two eyes and your two parts of your body can go the same place at the same time and understand the same thing at the same time, right? Because there is an understanding. When it's cut off, there is no communication between the two. The second type of invasive method after transaction is ablation. So ablation is, for example, trying to, let's say a person that had a damage to any tissue in the brain, tissue of the brain, any part of the cell of the brain, maybe if there is a damage. So keyword damage to the tissue, and we study to see what happens to the behavior, right? While lesion is cutting off, like removal, right? Very important. So while transaction has to do with cutting, separating two parts, ablation has to do with damage to some tissue part of a particular side of the brain, and lesion has to do with cutting off and or removal of a part of the brain to see that. So we understand that if once, for example, amygdala is damaged or removed, we know that such individual may not be able to experience what we call emotion, right? So this is what we call the invasive method. There is a contact. Meanwhile, if you understand in the history, we also talked about neuroimaging and activities. These are the one we call the non-invasive method. At this point, you don't need to be sick and then there is surgeon opening your brain for any research or to treat you, and then they leverage on that for any quasi experiment, right? No, in this situation, a healthy person's brain can be monitored. For example, as I'm talking, we can use the non-invasive method to monitor and see the part of the brain responsible for speech and for memory and for all of those things, right? Even for motor movement and everything. So the invasive methods we are going to, they include those activities of using computer and every other thing. The example is CT scans. Yes, you know that CT scans, where they can use it to CT means computer tomography. They can use it when it uses rays, yes, X-rays. Once the device is placed on your brain, on your head or your skull, right? It can read some things, lines, showing some lines in the computer, showing. In fact, they can use it to dictate if there is any tumor in the brain. Yes, that is one thing about CT scan, computer tomography. That is number one invasive method. We have another one. We talk about PET scan, PET, positron emission tomography. That is the meaning. Positron emission tomography. They use gamma ray. They use radio waves. Yes. So these radio waves are filled with glucose. So when it's injected in the brain, they place this scan on your brain and watch also in the computer. So as I'm talking, right, we understand that if you check the broadcast area of my brain, that glucose, you know, the food of the brain is glucose, right? At that point, you see that the part of the brain that will be consuming that glucose in the brain is the part of my brain that is responsible for speech, right? Or yeah. So that is the PET scan. While the CT scan uses X-ray and checks for lines and all those tumors, PET scan has advanced and could also show things like functions and the activities going on in the brain. Yes. So another one is MRI, magnetic resonance imaging. Yes, they use magnetic fields and radio waves, and they can show you very bright picture, colorful pictures of the shape and the anatomy of your brain. Then functional magnetic resonance imaging is another type of MRI. But the difference is that whereas MRI show you very tantalizing pictures and anatomy of your brain, the fMRI can show you their functions, what they are doing, and how the one responsible for that particular behavior and every other thing. So that is different between, but they are the same, using magnetic rays and radio waves, but the other can show functions. Then we have electroencephalograph. Electroencephalograph is also using electrodes and plugging it on the brain like the skull, and then connecting it to the computer. And this one will not only show you pictures and lines or dots, but will show you activities ongoing. As I'm speaking, you will see everything. These electrodes will show activities going on in the brain. And this is the size of the video. We're having the invasive and non-invasive method. The invasive method is the one we have to invade the brain, if I'm using that word, and we have three types: transaction, ablation, and lesion. while the non-invasive method includes refers to the type that we don't need to invade or come in contact with the brain matter or any other thing, right? We have types like the computer tomography, the position emission tomography, that is position emission tomography, PET scan. We have the MRI, the fMRI, and then the electroencephalograph, EEG. So thank you, and see you in the next video. And do like, share, comment, and please subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much.